Mick Jagger has never been the type to sit still or play it safe. For more than 60 years, he stood as rock and roll's ultimate showman. The man who taught a generation how to move, how to rebel, and how to feel dangerous, simply by watching him perform. But behind the iconic strut, the unmistakable voice, and that larger-than-life presence lies something deeper. A restless artist who never stopped searching. Where others chased easy hits, Mick chased truth. While his peers wanted to be loved, he wanted to be remembered. Across 6 decades, the Rolling Stones recorded hundreds of songs. Stadium anthems that shook the world, raw blues covers that launched their journey, and dance floor staples that never aged. Yet, when you ask Mick which songs have truly stayed with him, the answer isn't about chart success or screaming crowds. These 5 songs are about moments when the music locked into place, when it expressed exactly what he needed it to say, when the band became something more than 4 musicians making noise. Some of these tracks reveal his darkness. Others shine a light on his softer side. Together, they capture the restless spirit that made him impossible to ignore, the voice that could move mountains, and the mind that never stopped moving. These are Mick Jagger's 5 favorite songs, the ones that shaped him into who he is.
2. You can't always get what you want. Wisdom doesn't always come dressed in philosophy books. Sometimes it comes in a rock song. Mick was already rich, famous, adored, but something was still missing. That truth struck him one sleepless night. A few words popped into his head. You can't always get what you want. 3 minutes later, it became one of the greatest lessons he ever wrote. The song opened with the London Bach Choir, their angelic voices setting a sacred tone. Then came Al Cooper's French horn, weaving like a quiet prayer. It was 1968. The world was screaming for revolution, demanding everything right now. But Mick had learned the hard truth. Getting what you want doesn't always make you happy. And maybe, just maybe, that wasn't such a bad thing. I was thinking about my own life, he later said. All the things I thought I needed, and how empty they felt when I finally got them. The Stones had built their reputation on indulgence, sex, drugs, and no limits. But this song flipped the script. It suggested maybe the chase was better than the catch. Maybe the universe knew better than we did. The sessions felt like church, quiet, reverent, as if everyone knew they were touching something sacred. Mick had been listening to gospel choirs, amazed by how they turned pain into joy. He wanted that same transformation. Disappointment turned into hope. The line, "But if you try sometimes, you just might find you get what you need," became Mick's philosophy. A reminder that life doesn't always give us what we want, but it gives us what we're meant to have. 1. Midnight Rambler. Some singers play a role. Mick Jagger became one. Midnight Rambler wasn't just a song, it was a possession. On stage, it transformed Mick into something primal and dangerous. For 11 minutes, he wasn't just a frontman, he was the shadow inside us all. Inspired by the Boston Strangler, the lyrics weren't a news report. They were an exploration of the monster within, the darkness people pretend isn't there. In the studio, it was just another dark, bluesy track. But on live, it turned into theater. Mick would stalk the stage, belt whipping, crouching like a predator. Crowds weren't sure if they were watching a concert or something forbidden. "I felt possessed," Mick admitted. The audience felt it too. Women stepped back, men shifted uneasily. It was raw power, not from music alone, but from surrendering completely to the role. Midnight Rambler proved that the Rolling Stones weren't just musicians. They were explorers of human nature. And Mick wasn't just a performer. He was a shaman, guiding audiences into places both terrifying and beautiful.
3. Paint It Black. Darkness has a sound, and in 1966, Brian Jones found it on a sitar. Paint It Black wasn't designed to be a hit. It was meant as an experiment, a collision of Indian music and London blues. But once it hit the airwaves, it became the soundtrack to a generation's nightmares. For Mick, it was the first time he realized his voice could carry despair as well as rebellion. That hypnotic sitar riff was unlike anything anyone had heard. Beautiful and unsettling, like hearing funeral music while still alive. Mick's lyrics came from a place he usually avoided: depression, grief, emptiness. I see a red door and I want it painted black. He sang like a man trapped inside himself, desperate to escape but unable to find the exit. His voice cracked, not from poor technique, but from emotion that couldn't be contained. I was going through something, Mick admitted years later. The song just came out of me like bleeding. It wasn't about love, sex, or fame. It was about the emptiness success couldn't fill, about painting the world black because color felt like a lie. Unexpectedly, it became an anthem. Soldiers in Vietnam played it in the jungle. Teenagers in quiet suburbs saw their pain in its lyrics. It was dark, but honest. And sometimes, honest darkness heals more than forced optimism. Paint It Black taught Mick that his voice could be medicine, not just entertainment, that sometimes admitting everything is broken is the first step to feeling whole. 4. Wild Horses. Not every confession needs to roar. Sometimes it whispers. Wild Horses came from a tender, hidden place inside Mick, a side he rarely let anyone see. It was 1970. The Stones had a reputation as the bad boys of rock, the ones who didn't care about anything. But this song proved even rebels had hearts. Mick's personal life was unraveling, a relationship falling apart, a newborn daughter he hardly saw while touring. The life he had chosen was dragging him away from the life he wanted. Wild horses couldn't drag me away, he sang, but deep down he knew the horses already had. Graham Parsons was close to the band at the time, teaching them the beauty of country music, heartbreak wrapped in simplicity. He showed Mick that strength and vulnerability could live in the same song. Keith played acoustic guitar softly, almost delicately, as if afraid of breaking something fragile. I wrote it sitting on the floor, just me and an acoustic guitar, trying to figure out what I really felt. No posturing, no strut, just a man admitting he wasn't as strong as everyone thought. The recording was stripped back. No screaming guitars, no crashing drums, only space and honesty. Everyone in the studio knew they had captured something rare, a truth you couldn't fake. Wild Horses showed the world that Jagger wasn't just a showman. He was a poet, a songwriter, a human being. Vulnerability, it turned out, could be even more powerful than swagger. 5. Gimme Shelter. Some songs warn you about what's coming. This one sounded like it had already seen the future. Gimme Shelter wasn't written for the dance floor or the radio. It was written for the end of the world. And in 1969, it felt like the world really was coming apart. The Vietnam War was ripping America in two. The hippie dream was crumbling, and Mick was watching it all from his window in London. Keith Richards' guitar came first, a haunting, repetitive riff, almost like a funeral march slowed down. But it was Mick's voice that turned it into prophecy, raw, urgent, like a man pleading with humanity before it was too late. War, children, it's just a shot away. He wasn't singing about distant battlefields. He was singing about violence in the streets, on the news, and in people's eyes. Then came Mary Clean, a session singer who showed up at Olympic Studios late at night, pregnant, still in curlers, wondering what these rock stars wanted at such an hour. But when she sang rape, murder, it's just a shot away, her voice cracked on the high note, not from weakness, but from raw power. Everyone in the room froze. I got chills, Mick later recalled. They all knew they'd never hear anything like it again. This wasn't just backing vocals. It was two souls calling out the truth, the terrifying kind of truth most people didn't want to hear. The song became more than music. It became a warning, a soundtrack to war, protest, and unrest, echoing every time the world felt unsafe. For Mick, It was the moment the Rolling Stones stopped being just another band. They became witnesses to history, reporters of the darkness others tried to ignore.
Please don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon.